all new. AM 1150 WTMP.com.
Oops.
Alrighty. Alrighty. It's that time again, folks. I would like to officially, or unofficially, depends on, what you need. Make sure folks know that, June need to be declared Black Month. I mean, everybody else got a month. I mean, not Black History Month, but Black Month, period. Because everything else has kind of commenced and more events are happening for Black folks, the Black community in the month of June. And I know several years ago, and I started showing a little bit. When I was when I was with the Sheriff Black Advisory Council about 9-10 years ago, we used to do something in October. I'm kind of giving you the history for those who don't know, who haven't heard this stuff before. We had an event in October in which the Sheriff Black Advisory Committee would do an awards banquet for the Black employees for the Sheriff Department. Now, the Hispanic had an advisory committee, and they did an awards event. And the Indians, as to Indian, West Asian.
American?
Native American?
No. Indian, like from India.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, okay. It's Black Music Month already. And just make sure folks know that. But, because the sheriff could, he one day came to our meeting, the Black Advisory Council's meeting, and said that he was going to change the Black Advisory Council's awards banquet and make it the sheriff's awards banquet. And he was going to do his thing on the date. Now, we have been doing this thing for 20-something years. And he said, okay, well, I'm going to take it over, and we're going to do the Black, we're going to do the Hispanic, we're going to do the Indian. We're going to kind of roll everybody up into one big banquet, and we're going to take your date. Now, me, not being the type of person who wanted to do open combat and open conflict with the sheriff, I say we can win and make it such that we can have an event that's our event, and nobody white could come and take it from us. And that was 10 years ago. And that's when we started doing the Juneteenth luncheon. Now, many of you guys know we had the Juneteenth luncheon, at the Pepin Center. We did that for 8 years. We didn't do it because of COVID, the last year and the last 2 years because of the COVID and what it takes to make it happen and all that kind of stuff, But we moved because we say, well, we can do this, do it better, and make it so that some white guy or girl in the future can't decide that we want to hijack that event. See, because that's the thing about doing it in June. And back then, Juneteenth has grown each year more and more and more and more and more. We're trying to populate the month of June with activities for Black folks and the Black community, vendors and sponsors and and 501c3s and all the different groups and organizations, and we're populating the month of June pretty good. So this is Porch Talk Radio. I just had to get that out.
There you
go. I do stuff,
live.
in the beginning of the show so that when I get going and callers get to call and we get into discussions and stuff, and then I'd be at the end of the show and say, God, dog, I meant to do so and so and so, and I didn't do it because I'm getting old.
What?
So
don't be doing that.
So I have to make sure, I get my 2 cents in, off the cuff, make sure folks know and understand, give you some of the background to a lot of this stuff, and I gotta say Coach Dixon and the Coach Foundation, and it's a couple of folks who've been around for the entire, 10 years that we've been kind of organized to get this thing together, and been doing events every year, either virtually, real people, showing up and stuff like that, but we couldn't do the Juneteenth luncheon the way I used to do it because I have to know in January that in June we're going to do the event. So by January to March, I usually have all my sponsors and all my sponsorship going and stuff made out and ready to go. And if you remember this January 2021, we were still under COVID stuff. They were still shutting stuff down. So for us to plan an event for June in January of this year and January last year, it's hard to do if you gotta know and do make a lot of expenses, between January and March and have everything bought and paid for and sponsors and all that kind of stuff, And what I didn't want to do is do all that work
and know and show up.
And then have somebody, county, city, state, some blonde hair, blue eyed person, decide y'all can't do y'all event. Now I done put all this work, all this money, and all this stuff in. So I figure it's easier to just wait until we know it's gonna happen and all that kind of good stuff. So next year, all the folks who came and helped us do the Juneteenth luncheon, next year it's on again. We ready to go. I'm just putting it out there. Now it's a lot of good stuff happening right now. It's a lot of folks doing stuff next weekend. This is kind of like the weekend before Juneteenth, in which people get their information out, get their marketing out, and make sure everybody knows what's going on. So just tracing back, folks know this is Black Music Month. So that's already there.
I think you should have some Marvin Gaye playing in the background as you're doing that. That'd be appropriate,
The whole month, anybody playing black. Anybody playing black music.
Together.
I just heard Boosie Collins. Hey,
Oh.
you want to talk about black music? You can't leave that out. James Brown, say it loud. I'm black and proud.
Exactly.
That kind of stuff. So anyway, Porch Talk Radio. See, we got
back to our point.
We got to start the show at some time. Porch Talk Radio. This is the Porch Talk Radio show. Every Saturday, we've been doing this thing for 10 years. We kind of finally got it down pat to the point to where most of you folks who listen to this show, who have listened to this show, know that this show is a little different than most of the other shows that's on this station. And that's for a reason. They give the airtime and give you people some variety, give you another point of view, because a lot of times most of the folks who listen to this station only listen to one side of the viewpoint. I mean, for all intents and purposes, most of the other shows are versions of the same kind of information.
But just not the truth.
And that's all variable. And in fact, this show's a little different, a lot different.
Honest.
Depends on where you're coming from. I remind people back in the day when Muhammad Ali used to fight. Yeah, he always sold out the fights because half the people came to see him win, the other half came to see him lose. So I don't care a lot why you listen.
There you go.
But the fact that you are regular good listeners is the main reason we're here and the highest rated urban show in Tampa Bay. So we appreciate that. We love that. And if you want to call in, this is the call-in talk show. The call-in number is 813-251-9867. 813-251-9867. If you want to call me after the show. And just for the record, the show last week, black folks don't say kudos. You know, we don't get attaboys, attagirls. You know, but I had a couple of folks who thought it was a great show. And I'm mentioning that because it's a big deal, you know. I mean, it's a lot of shows that we do, a lot of shows that come on, and I guarantee you, if you took a survey of many or most of the hosts of all the other shows, and they had to kind of ring up how many comments they got from, unsolicited.
Favorable.
Great shows that have come in to them. I am almost 200% sure, for sure, that we probably have got more than most of them, probably all of them put together.
At least in the 95% rating for us.
Yeah. Great show come in. And then when I see it on my phone, when somebody email in a great show, that kind of pats me on the back because I know that we did good. I mean, and after we do a show, the team, me, Gabriel, and Tim, and walking out the door, we say, okay, that was a good show. That show wasn't so good.
And Eddie, I have people also that I encounter out in the streets, and they really do compliment. They listen to the show.
Yeah.
I've got some faithful listeners out there, and the points that we bring to the table are not always popular, but things that should be discussed in the community. We know the best way to deal with a problem is to deal with a problem.
Right.
Running away and blaming it on this party or that politician, you still have to wake up with yourself, and it's up to you to get involved, and that's what we always keep telling people. But Eddie, I hear the same results as well, just people commenting in general, that the topics were good, the way we put it out there was good. I've had a few say they weren't happy with what we were talking about, but it's good to see it was brought to the table either way.
Yeah. And our timing is off compared to, like I say,
No reflection of the host.
What some of the other shows do, because everybody was talking about George Floyd. Well, if everybody is talking about George
They've already
Floyd,
done it. They've talked about it.
we don't need to tell you the same thing. Everybody else just got through telling you. And everybody know how they feel.
Oh, that's
and everybody
right. You got in trouble for that. Talking about that.
Knew how they react and all that kind of stuff. But when it was our time,
we did it.
To do the conversation, we did it, and we did it well. And many of you guys never gonna like how we frame stuff and how we talk about stuff.
You talking to me?
So that's not the point. We took a time that we thought was appropriate.
There you go.
To do the conversation and to do it well. So that's important to us. So anyway, if you want to call my cell phone number, Eddie Adams Jr. cell phone number is 813-312. If you want to text me, that's the number you text me to. Email Eddie, EDDIE, porchtalkradio.com. And for you folks on Facebook Live, we back again. How you doing?
Hey!
And we're getting better and better.
How you doing?
I mean, just think about it. We went 9 years and we didn't even have Facebook Live. We didn't know what it was. Folks were saying you could do this, and we saw other folks doing it, and we say, what the hell, we can do it too. So for all you folks on Facebook Live, we appreciate you watching the show and being with us also. And Facebook Live, I know you folks see that we have a guest here today. And, from time to time, we do have guests. I know someone asked me one time why y'all don't have guests. I'm going to kind of tell you,
We're good. We don't need them.
Yeah. We really, this show is not guest-driven. is more host driven. You know, so
With topics of the
so
day.
at some point in time, you know, we bring people in to accentuate,
Ah,
you know, the information that we're giving you and make it better so that it's not just us giving stuff, so you don't just have to believe or not believe what we're telling you. So and if you notice, there's a lot of other shows that do guests on the phone. You've never heard us do guests on the phone because of the nature of the show. There's a chemistry when you have beautiful young ladies,
thank you.
impotent,
She actually is nice, Eddie.
impotent men.
Thank you.
You know, other things.
Impotent.
You know, in the studio, you can.
Important.
Oh!
Yeah,
Excuse
you can look in their eyes. You know, you can look and talk, and
Oh,
you
we all got glasses too.
you can get
We're the glass team. I
yeah,
know.
you get a chemistry. You know, so that makes it different. So this show is a little different in that way.
Not weird, just different.
So, anyway, with us today, we have a young lady who's going to tell you who she is and what she represents and what she's doing, and then we're going to have a little conversation. And this may take the whole hour, or it may take 10 minutes. Depends on how long she want to hang and make this thing happen. So Miss Joyce Stubbe is from the Pinellas County Sunshine
Pinellas Suncoast Black Republican Club.
Club. There you go.
Awesome.
There you go. I was getting there, but I was going the roundabout way. You know how black folks do stuff. So I didn't get there quite quick enough. So without any further ado, our guest host today is going to tell you what they're doing over in St. Pete. And we got some stuff we're going to tell you about what's happening in Tampa. Because as I say, Juneteenth is becoming a big holiday nationally for black folks. So Miss Stubbe, let's talk about what's happening in St. Pete next week.
Okay, on Saturday from 1 to 4 p.m. at Campbell Park, which is in South St. Pete, the Pinellas Suncoast Black Republican Club, along with several other organizations that are sponsoring the event, and then we have different speakers that are not sponsoring the event. And I say that because in a few minutes I'll tell you why, what's going on with that. Our theme this year is celebrating family, friends, fellowship, and freedom, 4 F's. And that's important because our guest speakers will talk on those 4 subjects. We will have, people running for office, CEOs of nonprofit organizations. Eddie, if he's available, may show up and guest speak for a few moments. He's invited. We have social media personalities. They call them influencers.
Mm-hmm.
And we have people from the religious sect to speak in terms of fellowship. All of these things are important because if you look at the history of Juneteenth, when it was started, the first Juneteenth celebration was in 1866, which is exactly 1 year after the last state, which was Texas, was notified that the slaves were free. That was on June 19th.
Oh.
1865, 2.5 years after the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation. There was no internet, no quick way to get information out there.
No tweeting.
And in this case with Texas, historically, we don't know if the state just ignored it, so that on June 16th, what was his name? Major General Granger, literally went to Galveston, Texas.
Gordon Granger.
Yes. Man knows his history.
There you go.
Stood on the steps and basically said, the people of Texas are informed that in accordance with the proclamation from the executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves absolute equality of personal rights and property between former masters and slaves, and the connection heretofore existing between them becomes that between an employer and a hired hand. Meaning if you kept them, you had to pay them.
No more free labor.
No more free labor. And again, the first official celebration was the following year. At that time, the main purpose of the celebration was a political rally. They wanted to inform the slaves about voting, instructions on the newly freed slaves and things of that nature, what they could and could not do. So it was more than just a picnic, having food with family and friends. It was a way to get information out to the slaves.
So a call to action.
It was a
type thing.
call of action type event.
Ex-slaves at that time.
I'm sorry, that's correct. Ex-slaves at that time, because they've been freed officially the year before.
Right.
There is some hesitancy in the state of Florida because Florida got the message a month before. Florida got the message on May 20th, 1865. So some historians, some politicians think Florida should celebrate May 20th as their version of Juneteenth. It couldn't be called Juneteenth because it wouldn't be in June, which is ridiculous. You know, I'm sorry, my opinion is it's ridiculous because the concept behind Juneteenth is all.
Right.
Exactly. It's a culmination of all states being officially informed. In Florida, because you got the notice a month early, I'm happy for you. Your people had freedom a month longer. But ultimately, we're looking at the big picture,
Right.
not the little picture.
So if the people have decided, and I'm gonna say in this case, the black people decided this is what we're picking, we're sticking with it, then why don't you just tell the politicians to mind their business?
Exactly. Why don't
You
you
know?
tell the historians? I get what you're saying, but at the end of the day,
Yeah,
we're
no.
looking at more than just Florida.
Yeah. Well, the whole concept, and we all know divide and conquer.
Mhm.
You know, so everybody, you know, why don't you celebrate separately? No. As
No.
a country, all black folks were freed at the same time because when he signed the Emancipation Proclamation on January the 1st,
Exactly.
1863,
Exactly.
black folks were freed then. It's about knowledge. It's about
Exactly.
information. It's about not getting to know that you're free. I'm free, but you didn't know it. So the fact of the matter was all blacks were freed at the exact same
Wow.
time.
There you go.
And the last black got the message in the last state of the Union, because you got to remember back then we was a developing country,
Correct.
and the furthest west we went was Texas. It wasn't nothing beyond Texas except wasteland. That's what they used to call it. California was out there, but it was a wasteland.
Still is.
Yeah. So go ahead, young.
Okay.
You know.
So I have this flyer. I don't know if you all can see it. Several people have posted it on their Facebooks, their websites, and a couple of people have been calling me because you'll see in the corner there's a logo for Every Black Life Matters.
Ooh.
And I'm like, do they not look at it? It does not say Black Lives Matter. It does not have Black Lives logo. And they're like, I wouldn't come to that event if you paid
What's
me.
it say?
It
again?
says Every Black Life Matters.
Oh,
It
my
has
goodness.
the logo
That's not
of
politically
Every
correct.
Black Life
That's not politically
Matters.
correct.
Right. That's why she's saying some people.
Well, they're just saying that this is a BLM event and how dare you be involved with them.
But that's
I
not what
can
it says.
assure you, that's what I said. Did you read it? And then when you read it, go research it. Don't just look at a headline.
And what does it say again?
Like a lot of people do. It says every Black Life Matters. And if you listen to Kevin McGarry, the CEO, founder, when he talks about it, he is clear. It is Every Black Life Matters too.
But isn't
Not
that-
to the exclusion of
But we're
anybody
being
else.
taught that's racist.
And,
Yeah, we're also taught that if you have to say a color, it's racist.
Yeah. Well,
So-
what's up? Something folks don't understand. Black Lives Matter, and I'm gonna say this, and half of y'all folks, and the phone's gonna light up and stuff, ain't, and I do mean ain't black.
And it's not about helping black
It
people.
ain't about black. I'm gonna tell you how you can tell.
Oh,
I'm
boy.
gonna tell you how you can tell Black
We're in the
Lives
mud.
Matter ain't black. They worth $2 billion.
And none of that money's made to the
how
black
many
community.
civil rights organizations, groups, NAACP, SCLC, SNCC, SNOT,
MOUSC,
anything
whatever.
else you want.
Yeah.
Has that kind of money.
How many other black organizations, civil rights, fighting and fussing for freedom and humanity and equality for black folks, got $2 billion?
And Eddie, how much of that's made it to the black community?
Well, that's what I'm trying to tell you.
Exactly. And
Black
at
Lives
this
Matter
point,
ain't about black folks.
if you look at the history of Black Lives Matter
Yeah.
and the 3 African American founders of
Right.
the organization, where are they now?
Right.
In
Look at their
mansions?
board, but they're no longer even affiliated with Black Lives Matter, though.
Right.
That's the point
It's a
I'm
group
making.
and organization
You
that
know,
shot off on their own.
Exactly.
White
They
liberals
shut
are
off.
running
They
it down.
incorporated. It's now an international
So back to your brochure here,
organization.
it doesn't say
It does
Black
not say
Lives
that.
Matter, it
It's
says
a whole
every.
different organization where we
Yeah.
are looking at Black lives
Right,
from the
right.
womb to the
To the
tomb.
tomb.
Ah,
Every aspect of it, from
nice.
education, housing, employment,
Helping the people.
every aspect. That's
Helping the
right.
people.
Helping
Wow.
the people. So, if for no other reason, you need to show up just to hear what that aspect of the
Helping
event
the
will
people,
be.
that's awesome.
And again, Black Pac will be there, and they will also have voter registration there, so you can register to vote.
What
I'm not
time-
telling
what-
you who
what
to
ti-
register.
What time it
or how.
starts? What time
It starts at 1. It's from
Okay.
1 to 4.
Okay.
Where?
Campbell Park, South St. Pete. So you
Campbell
can
Park.
Google Campbell Park. Yeah,
Oh,
South
okay,
St. Pete.
okay.
But there's a lot of history out there. One of the speakers is going to talk about the Tropicana Field.
Mhm.
We know that use agreement's going to end. What about the people that owned the land before? What about eminent domain?
It was
What
a,
about a lot of
Ouch.
issues?
it was a dump there a long time ago.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was a big dump. It was,
Huh.
So-
it was a refuge, and they pulled the dump trucks up. It was a big old hole, and they put trash in there till they filled it up and put a layer of dirt on
Dirt
the
on
top,
it.
and they put some asphalt and on top of that and built Tropicana Field.
Ah.
Well, in addition to that, they
Yeah.
displaced a lot of people.
Yeah, oh
They
yeah,
came
yeah,
in,
yeah.
moved them out of their homes, closed down businesses so they could put that there.
It was in the middle of the hood.
So, exactly. So, we're gonna have a discussion about that. People
Yeah.
may find that they may have some rights
Right.
to reclaim their property
Ooh.
under eminent domain
Yeah.
at the end of the use
Process.
agreement with
Right, yeah.
Tropicana Field.
Yeah.
Because I know that thing's in bad shape
It-
and it needs
it is.
repairs and nobody has money.
It'll-
Throw money at
It'll
it.
be over with in 7 years.
Yeah, the right to
2027.
And once that ends, once they are no longer using it as Tropicana Field, the city can't say, now we're gonna do this with
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
No.
No, there's a whole legal process, and we're gonna have somebody discuss that with the people so that they understand.
That'll happen on Juneteenth?
Yeah, that's
Oh,
part of
my
it,
goodness. Next
because
Saturday.
our event is not
Wow.
just a picnic. You know, we're gonna talk
Informational
about issues, we're gonna hand out
issues.
information. You know, a lot of people, especially a lot of Black people, trying to shy away from the military.
Yeah.
Whoever recruited there are all kind of benefits
Yeah.
to joining the military
big.
that people don't realize, and no one's ever talked to them, because if their child goes to failing school, recruiters don't come there. So they never even know what the benefits are.
All right, we got
So
a caller.
this is another event that
Awesome.
they can participate in.
Caller, welcome to Porch Talk Radio on this fine, hot Saturday afternoon. Who are you? Where you're calling from, and what say you? Hello?
I'm Charles Coffey.
Yes, sir.
Here, I believe if black folk would come back together, if black folk would have been together, they would have never took that Tropicana Field. I remember, I'm 65 years old. I remember way back when there was a dump. I don't know a lot about St. Petersburg, but they did that in a lot of areas. But one thing we have to, as I said before, define our leaders, and our leaders have to come together. The only way white folks and the government gonna get out of black folk way is they do what we did 50, 60, 70 years ago. Come together with one accord. That's
There you
right.
go.
And I ain't talking about no LGBT. I'm not talking about none of that, no Black Lives Matter. I'm talking about black folks.
Exactly. There you go.
Thank you.
Get out of our way. We don't need Democratic Party. We don't need a Republican Party. We fight for ourselves now and our lives. Thank you, sir.
Thank
God
you.
bless you, sir.
Appreciate
And
it.
we do not let those distinctions, like you said, this group or that group, take you away from the fact that at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is striving to make life better for people, giving them the information they need to make good decisions and things of that nature. And it's not all one political party or
Nope.
this group or that group. And if you take that away and make the situation more important to achieve success, as opposed to saying, I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican, that's ridiculous. You weren't born a Democrat or a Republican, so why is that the most important thing in your life?
I mean, what she's telling us going on over there in Pinellas, we got anything like that in Hillsborough?
Well, we do.
You don't have me in here.
Oh, boy.
We do, but it's in its infancy, because it is very hard to overcome 200 years plus of programming. You know, trust only your white master. Don't trust each other. It is your duty and responsibility to break down your brother, break down your sister, you know. And so everybody kind of got in silos, you know, big old silos. Everybody quartering off their territories, and they gonna fight you.
They got their little kingdoms
to the death.
There you go.
You know, about this little acre over here, this little half an acre over there. And what happened is the people who are in the community, who are decision makers, you know, will not look at the black community as a whole. And that's what I'm trying to do. And that's what had happened in St. Pete. They had to galvanize. They had to figure out that there's something bigger and grander on a much grander scale as the entire black community. So we're not going to do like the Indians, you know, the Apache and the Sioux and the Navajo and this and that
Cherokee.
and that. You know, fight among each other, and the white man come and wipe everybody out. You see,
because everybody divided.
Right, and you know, so that's and that's what they've done. And over here in Hillsborough, that's what we got. Everybody got their own factions, and they got their own silo, and they got their own little group. And the black community is suffering because we won't come together. But we seen y'all doing it. So I have no problem with saying Pinellas is ahead of us on the scale of coming together as a community and making some stuff happen for the entire community. Where black groups have come together and say, okay, as a community, we're gonna make sure the entire black community advances forward. We're gonna move together forward. And that's the important thing that's gonna happen. That's why Black Lives Matter ain't about black folks. They about Black Lives Matter. You know, and a lot of black folks don't know and understand that because that's part of the teaching. Oh, because it got black in the name, it's for black folks. Everything got black in it ain't for you. I'm telling you, that's marketing. That's like Coke and Pepsi.
That's
you know,
exactly right.
You just
Because
assume
Pepsi came from Coke.
Yeah, you just assume that because it say Black Lives Matter that it's about black folks. And I just told you $2 billion let you know it ain't about black folks. Because if you think it's about black folks, go to them and say, I need some money for your community, and see how much you get. So that's the test.
Chicago went to them and asked for money for the high murder rate, and they said, we don't do that.
That's the test.
Because they ain't going to generate no money for
So
that.
not all Black Lives Matter.
No, not all.
Got it.
When you talk to like a person that is a member of Black Lives Matter, and I thought one of the most ridiculous things I ever heard was, well, what about black police officers? In Black Lives Matter world, they don't count.
No.
How can they not count?
They're the enemy.
Exactly, even though they're black.
Yeah.
So not all Black Lives Matter to Black Lives Matter. So black people keep that in mind. And especially, and this is my thing, you know, it deals with Juneteenth and deals with the stupid critical race theory type stuff. Problem is, all of my grandchildren are biracial. So do I teach them that their mother should feel guilty forever, and because they're biracial, they should be half guilty and half not? You know, that they should feel the burden or something? I'm like, this stuff is used to destroy.
That's the game.
To separate
To divide
and
game.
divide.
That's the
Divide
game.
and teach hate.
And that's exactly right, because this is not a world of just one group. It is not a world of two groups. We are so intermixed now that everybody needs a 23andMe.
That's why. Well, that's why it's important for the folks here in Hillsborough. You know, you guys, like I said, step. You know, get rid of all the silos for the purpose
the title
of moving. I mean, they can keep their, you know, they etched out. They families have generated wealth and position and power and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, this particular battle is for the whole black community, for the whole community. You know, so it's that big overlapping umbrella that we can all be under when we go to the mayor and say we want these. We want this issue.
Let me just say, another comment that was prevalent on Facebook was, I thought Black History Month was in February. What is this about? And I'm like, people from? You know, read, people.
What- right.
Read.
But see, that's part of the strategy. See, because black folks, if black folks don't learn about the Emancipation Proclamation, you sure can't expect white folks to learn and know about the Emancipation Proclamation.
They don't care. It doesn't matter to them.
Right, it don't matter. It's not a big deal.
It's history, not
Right.
theirs.
Yeah.
So
So
let me read this quote. Just as the parades and picnics of July 4th reminds us of our country's independence from the oppressive rule of Great Britain, the celebration of Juneteenth evokes our country's victory over an internal, oppressive, and immoral system that divided it and threatened to destroy it. So it doesn't take away from the 4th of July. All it does is it celebrates that the country as a whole overcame a terrible part of their history.
right, and because a lot of people don't accept it, it ain't like the Holocaust. It's a whole bunch of graves, and a whole bunch of folks hiding back. I'm gonna tell you something that I've done over the last several months. I've actually been watching, and if you've been listening to this show, I've talked about the Chinese, because the Chinese came here in the 1800s, and they still got Chinatowns.
Same property.
The Chinese had hospitals, they had utilities. They got areas of town that have been there since the 1800s. They don't sell to non-Chinese folks, so you can't go and buy you a place in Chinatown. Because if you ain't Chinese, if you're black, you can roll up in there and rent, but you can't buy. And they got their own utilities. They got a lot of stuff. And I started looking at and listening to the stories about the Black Wall Street. What happened there. How folks became so jealous and so enraged at black folks on their own, making stuff happen, getting along, prospering in this capitalistic society, where they literally drop bombs on a whole residential community. Just literally bomb the place, like they're foreign citizens at war. And that's what happened to black folks. When that community was doing stuff, and they was together. So the outside community came in and was shooting and killing, and may have killed over 1,000 black folks. If you look at the real history of what happened. Okay, we got a caller. Caller, welcome to Porch Talk Radio on this fine Saturday afternoon. Who are you? Where you calling from? And what say you? Hello.
This is Adam from Tampa. I'm glad to hear that the lady who is the head of that club in St. Pete made the statement that before you were a Republican, you're black. Before you were a Democrat, you're black. And the thing is that I hope that organization like that we can get rid of the artificial obstacles and divisions, and then we can have a coalition. We can build coalitions based upon shared interest and advancement, not based upon political ideology, because the thing is that I'll never be able to, really identify with the Republican Party. But the thing is that if it's for the advancement of black folks, I can actually work with someone that we have shared interests. So let's get rid of all of this talk about Black Lives Matter. As far as Black Lives Matter is a movement that is most likely it has multiple organizations. There's one particular organization that people like to refer to conflate as a overarching about the Black Lives Matter movement. Let's throw that out, because that's talking about ideology. Let's talk about what we need to do in our communities. When you were talking about in St. Pete, what would happen to Tropicana Field, about eminent domain, the thing is that as a member of the Republican Party, I would think that let's go even higher. Why don't you speak to Ron DeSantis or the legislatures in the state, who the Republican Party actually are in charge of both houses, both chambers. So why not bring some legislation to refer to remedy that issue? And one last thing, when you refer to about CRT in this state, I just recently learned about the Ocoee massacre.
Yeah.
that happened on November the 2nd, 1920. That is not taught in our schools. That is something that right here happened. That is considered to be one of the deadliest, or considered to be the deadliest election day like massacre of where you had African people, African descendants attempting to vote, and they were systematically massacred because of their audacity to actually try to vote. When it went to the state legislature to be implemented in the curriculum, it was voted down. So the thing is that when we talk about what DeSantis did in terms of like eliminating any sort of critical race theory, well, we can have the discussion where why would they do that when you have African descendants wanting to vote? Let's have that discussion. But he's eliminated that it's more not on a systematic basis, based upon on a that you look at a person and you are prejudiced or whatever, and then you made the reference about that you have biracial children. The thing is that when your children are out on the street, the police are going to they're going to judge your biracial children or grandchildren based upon how they look. Because you look at Deontay Wright in Minnesota, who's biracial as well, and he was shot by a white female police officer, and I don't think that she cared that he was light-skinned or that he was biracial.
Let me just stop you. I get what you're saying, but a lot of the stuff is already dealt with. If you or whoever in that area where they did not implement something that you thought should have been implemented in school, start with the school board. They're the ones that come up with what your children are going to be taught and what they're not going to be taught. And if you think something's missing and you march in there with 50 people, they're going to listen to you.
Yep.
If you march in there by yourself, if you march in there by yourself, they're not going to listen to you. So at our event, we will have people running for office where you can ask them, if you get elected, will you do this? Will you do that? And that's how we've got to do it. But my group is a small group. We don't have the power to call Ron DeSantis or anybody and say, hey, come to my event. I invite them to stuff. But at some point when we're big enough and we're strong enough, they're going to be calling, asking to be invited to come speak to us. And that's where we need to get to as a group. We can't let these things and, tangential things destroy us. I mean, I'm dark brown. You can see that. So ain't nobody going to mistake me for anything else but what I am. And that's fine. But at the same time, when I raise my children and my grandchildren, they understand those things growing up as well. So it's not like we've already taught our children these things growing up. This is new to the masses. It's not new to black people.
Right.
And that's the thing. This whole thing in Britain when Meghan says, they're racist and stuff like that, because they were saying, what is Archie's skin color going to be? I'm going to tell you the truth. That was my first thought, too. I wonder how dark he going to be. Well, let's skip a few generations. Does that make me racist? No.
Well, see, she ain't dark black herself. So.
And if you read her story, you find out.
Things that I'm talking about as division, because the thing is that for many years, the one drop rule was always the standard. It didn't matter if you had like.
But that wasn't in your lifetime. We're dealing with today, not yesterday. We're celebrating yesterday, but not dealing with yesterday.
And
we're acknowledging yesterday.
And the one drop rule only applied for white folks, because, we didn't give a crap, for us, if you were lighter than a grocery bag.
Blue eyes.
Yeah, if you white, if you lighter than a grocery bag, black folks had concerns about you being too high yellow. That's what they used to call it, high yellow. As opposed to jet black. So we found ways within our own community. And thank you for the call.
Thanks,
and we got another caller. Caller, welcome to Porch Talk Radio. We're going to try to get you in before we do the on this day. Welcome. Who are you? Where you calling from? And what say you?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Turn up.
Are you there?
Okay.
That's called the Laban principle. The Laban is a biblical a character, not a character, was a person who was the first husband of Leah, and then he was working for Rachel. So then Laban told him, it's not our custom to give the older before we give the younger. And he had already worked 7 years. See, what I want to point out is it didn't just get to be that after 7 years. It was that way, and he knew it before he let him work them 7 years. So they will give you part information to control you in ignorance.
Yep.
And that's what's happening. They give you private information to control you in interest. So what's happening now is what the Dem is doing, whatever they were doing. When you see when it was a massacre in Tulsa, who was in charge? Democratic people. They were unified in statistic, racism. You know, this is the way it's going to go. When you have those laws, none of the Democrats voted for civil rights laws, and they ain't changed. They're just talking like Laban, give you private information to control you in ignorance. And what happened is, what's happening now, the liberals are becoming, especially the ones that are black, what they were fighting against before. They're doing it. Who went around writing books and, you know, let this be taught in school was the Daughters of the Confederacy. They went along putting up monuments, and they had the books to teach this. That was wrong information. They only teach the truth, what really happened. Well, the one thing is the United States won. Lincoln did the emancipation. And the thing about it is he didn't call them ex-slaves. He called them the people in question, the people in that. He didn't call them that. So if you were a human being, and we get back to human rights and doing unto others, love your neighbor as yourself, which is the second greatest commandment, then we'll be all right without this hate stuff that we're trying to do. Mm-hmm. And that would be it. It was done by James. I hope they know. And don't be caught up in the Laban principle where they give you private information. Yeah. That be the news, the media, and everything, and to control you in ignorance. So we got to come out from that. That's all I got to say.
Thank you pretty much.
Wow.
Thank you. We thank you for calling and appreciate you.
Like a machine gun, a lot of facts.
All right.
Let me just add before you close.
Okay.
Once again, Juneteenth, celebrating family, friends, fellowship, and freedom. So we will be talking about aspects of all of those things. We have food, beverages already set up and waiting for you all to come, or at least almost set up. 1 to 4, Saturday, a week from today, at Campbell Park at 601 14th Street South in St. Petersburg. If you have any questions, you can call me directly at 304-444-4827. So if you have any questions, or if you want to speak, that you have something that you think would be good for all, let me know and I can put you on the podium. Again, my number is 304-444-4827, and this is my personal invitation to everybody out there to please attend. The more people, the stronger our presence.
There we go.
The more we can get done.
There we go.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
All right. Okay, now we're going to do on this day, then Gabriel going to do his blast, and then if we have any time left after that, we'll take any more calls that we have. Okay, on this day, the 6th of the 12/6
We can do it.
12 June the 12th. June the 12th.
There we
Man,
go.
Got it out.
boy, that was hard. Tongue tied. That radio jargon. Okay, on June the 12th, 1963, civil rights leader Malcolm Evers was fatally shot in front of his house in Jackson, Mississippi. A lot of you guys may remember that. On June the 12th, 1967. This is something from the previous show. We do it every week, so we actually know what we're talking about.
There you go.
On June the 12th, 1967, state laws which prohibited interracial marriage were ruled unconstitutional by the U.S. Supreme Court.
In the Loving case.
Yes.
Boom.
Yes. On this day, June 12th, 1987, the U.S. President Reagan publicly challenged Mikhail Gorbachev to tear down that wall. Remember the old tear down the wall speech and video? And on this day, June 12th, 2009, the U.S. officially switched from analog TV transmission to digital, and it was complete.
Boom.
Gabriel.
You know, folks, we got a lot of interesting stuff going on here. Let's start off with, we already touched on a little bit, not in Florida. The Board of Education approves DeSantis rule banning critical theory. You guys want to know what that is? That's basically where hate is taught to school children, and that black people are always victims as long as white people exist. There's a bit more involved, but that's a nutshell. Being more positive, Burger King donating to pro-child sex change group with every new chicken sandwich bought.
What?
That food is junk to begin with, but whatever. Let's see. And when you've done something that's super racist, but it's okay if you use the N-word several times, if you're Joe Biden or Hunter Biden, they get a free pass. They can use that N-word all day long. NAACP, not a peep. Meanwhile, if you think that the science is what drives the FDA, just understand the FDA, Food and Drug Administration, receives 45% of its annual budget from Big Pharma. The World Health Organization gets roughly 50% of its budget from private sources, including Bill Gates and Big Pharma. The CDC is a vaccine company. It owns 56 vaccine patents and buys and distributes 4.6 billion in vaccines annually through the Vaccines for Children program. That's not science, folks. That's called business.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the United Nations says that restricting porn access for children is infringing upon their human rights. Of course, you remember the United Nations, right? They do the raping and pillaging across the planet. That's it. Meanwhile, Amazon stands behind the sale of Blue Lives Murder apparel, wants to give customers the widest possible selection of goods. The tech giant is known for its sweeping removal of goods deemed offensive to progressive causes. And here we are. Moving along, folks. Getting more positive here as we move along. Some good marriage statistics. It gets better. Listen to this. 50% of all marriages in the USA fail. But people that are married in church, 38% of those fail. People that attend church, 17 to 18% of those marriages fail. People that actually plan the family, 5 to 7% of those marriages fail. And people that pray together, 0.06 failure rate. That is 6 out of 10,000. Now, we end on a happy note. This old lady came to the bank I work at to withdraw $10. I told her that for withdrawals less than $100, she had to use the ATM machine. She asked to withdraw $1,000 in $10 bills. Yeah, I did as she said, and I counted it out to her. She handed back money. She took the $10 and gave me back $990 and said, I need to deposit this. Woo! She might be old, but she's still thinking.
Smart.
That's it for me, folks.
All right. The next time you're washing your hands and complain about the temperature of the water, that it's not right, you don't like it, think about how things used to be. Here are some facts about the 1500s. Most people got married in June because they took their yearly baths.
Yearly bath.
1500
Okay.
in May. So
There was no AC back then. They were funky.
so that they got married in June because they were still smelling okay from May.
May.
So they got married in June. However, since they were still just beginning to smell, brides carried a bouquet of flowers to hide their body odor. Hence, the custom today of carrying a bouquet of flowers for the bride.
And why there's so many marriages in June.
That's why there's so many marriages in June.
Oh my goodness.
See, so you learn stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So, folks out there, we
plenty of time.
we glad you listen to Porch Talk Radio, every Saturday, and next Saturday is Juneteenth. So all those folks having Juneteenth events, we're gonna be live. We're going to TMP in St. Pete. They got another event that they're doing over there, and we're gonna be there live. So Porch Talk Radio is gonna be live in St. Pete for the Juneteenth event that's happening.
Appreciate you telling me, Eddie.
I'm telling you
You didn't
now.
know?
It's next week.
Right now.
It's next week.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Whole week notice.
So it's gonna be right across the street from the Manhattan Casino.
Huh.
So it's a big open lot. They got 100 and something vendors. They got stuff going on over there, and throughout the course, you'll hear about it. And for those who are listening to us next week, we'll be telling you about what's going on. We're giving you an on-the-scene report, saying X number of people are here. They got vendors, they got programs, they got live music, they got folks talking, all this stuff. And like I say, Juneteenth and the month of June is going to become Black Month. And I don't mean Black History Month, Black Month, period. Because it's up to us. This ain't something we asking white
Just
folks.
doing it.
White folks, can we do this?
You got permission from the master?
We ain't asking, can we do this? This is stuff we're doing. And each week and each day in the month of June, if you got an event or you got something you need to do, you got a whole year between now and next year to start working on planning some event. It don't have to be on Juneteenth that day. It could be any time during the month of June. We're going to take this month. We ain't going to ask nobody, can we officially have the month of June?
There you go.
If everybody in the country start having events, they will notice. So, all you folks out there who make it your business to tell people stuff,
To
Your
be
business.
in the know.
go and tell that.
Exactly.
So,
That's a joke.
until we do this again next week, same bat time, same bat station, Tampa Bay, we love you.
God bless America.
Bye-bye.
What are they doing?
They just checked out. They said, see ya.
Did they?
Goodbye. Yeah.